And just listening to Myrna and Susan, I'm sorry Susan's not here. It's just to listen and absorb the breadth of what the ACIM teaching is. It's so like antithetical to what the world teaches. You had hello Wellington. Um, you you start with one idea and the course is circular. Everything connects to everything else, and everything comes down to one thing, the identity problem, where we have forgotten who we are. So, are we recording yet or no? Lynn, are we recording? No? Yes?
I beg your pardon?
Are we recording yet?
Yes, we're live on YouTube right now.
Okay, live on YouTube. So what I was saying, listening to Myrna and Susan, um, the breadth of the course and what the course is, to me, it's a thought system. It's a way of looking at the world that sounds simple, but it's not, because the world's thought system is based on this idea of separation. Um, you and me against the world. Not even there might not even be a you. They're just me against the world. I'm separate. I'm in a body. I'm vulnerable. I could be hurt, and therefore I have to protect myself. I have to construct a way of looking at the world that keeps me safe. And that's primarily my theme for today. So let's start with a meditation. Let me bring up my screen. And I appreciate this opportunity. I've been a student. If you and YouTube have not seen my videos before, I've been a student of A Course in Miracles for like 45 years, long time. And I'm still a student of A Course in Miracles. I'm also a teacher of A Course in Miracles and a practitioner of A Course in Miracles. So what does that mean? A practitioner, I practice seeing the world differently. Bottom line, there's workbook lessons, there's meditations, there's prayers, but applying all of that is to me what being a practitioner means. I practice principles, and let me bring this up. And how do you, what's the old joke, somebody's on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan and they're asked, stops, like a tourist, and it stops a guy and he asks, like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the response is practice. How do I find peace of mind, which is what the course promises? And the answer is practice. So, opening meditation. So let's take some breaths together. Close your eyes. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw soften. Let your mind settle. Keep breathing, and if you can, breathe in and out of your heart. Let the outer world fade just a little. No judgment, just openness, expansiveness, curiosity. And now gently let your awareness return. So what my focus is going to be is are some of the, I want to say is, but it, of course is huge. So are some of these psychological concepts. I have a doctorate in psychology. One reason I decided to get a doctorate in psychology is because of A Course in Miracles, because it's so psychologically oriented. That's something that I've spoken about before. The course is a philosophy. A psychology, and it's also a spiritual practice. Um, but the psychology of the course has to do with uh, the way we see the world, perception. And as a PhD psychologist, I studied perception. So I'm going to intermingle some of what psychology teaches, and what the course teaches. So one of the concepts I've mentioned before and in previous weeks is that God did not create this world. Okay, who created the world? And the response that comes back is you did. Like me, like what? I created trees and mountains and like so that's not what I'm going to focus on. There are people who focus more on like the metaphysical aspect of the course and would argue, did you create three-dimensional reality? And okay, and I'm not going to go there. What I'm going to go to is how we see the world. And that building up ideas about how the world works is a psychological process that occurs over time. So to start with, one of the lessons, workbook lesson talks about um, I have invented the world I see. So we're going to go more into that. I'll come back to that. But again, it's just highlighting what do you mean you've invented the world you see? So as I'm going to go into this, and I don't have that much time, keep your mind open and just pay attention. And think about how much resistance you might be putting up to you might have to some of these ideas. So the course makes a distinction between creation and making. First concept. Creation is what our creations are loving thoughts, eternal, loving, changeless. The ego, the ego's world, which I'll come back to, which is the world of 3D reality, is based on our projection, our interpretation of the world as bad and fearful, and it's how we see the world. We don't see the world as is. What we see in the world are our own ideas and beliefs mirrored back to us. And that's such a fundamental concept of the course and also in psychology. When if anyone's ever been in therapy, the therapist, a good therapist, if something, whatever's going on in the outer world, a good therapist will say, okay, what does this mean to you? And where does this meaning come from? And you go within to take responsibility for how you see situations. So one of the principles is projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it. We see, very important, what we see in three-dimensional reality is an outpicturing of what we believe inside. Okay, I will repeat that. What we see in three-dimensional reality is an outpicture of what we believe inside. In psychology, there's a therapy form, a form of therapy. It's called rational emotive therapy. And what it does, well, I'll give you an example. So, think of the last situation that got you upset. What was that? What was the last situation that got you upset? And so if you have a piece of paper, you would write this down, and you would put a letter A next to it, the situation that got you upset. And then on the next line, you would record what what was your reaction. What was the strength of your reaction? And as well. So what was your reaction? I got upset. I, cried. Smashed something. What was your reaction to that upset? And then you would number, the intensity of that reaction on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, so A, what the situation was. C, what your reaction was, and the intensity of your reaction. So what happened, what's between A and C? Ah, this is, I think of Dave, if he's here, Dave Fishman. Um, he always uses this expression, what's between A and C is your belief. And he likes to say belief has the word lie in it. So what did you believe about the situation that gave rise to your reaction? And one of the principles in the course is you're never upset for the reasons you think. There's always some underlying beliefs. And what good therapy does, and I'll say that A Course in Miracles is good therapy, because it has you look within. It has you question your beliefs. And in psychology, it's and in the course, it's our beliefs that create our reality. So when we go back to that thought that I started with, God did not create the world, you did. I could say that what that means is, I'm the sum total of my beliefs about what the world is and how to act in the world. So I will move on. Um, so the course talks about two worlds. The world of ego. Let's see, find something. Um, the world of ego and the world of spirit. Those are the two worlds. The world of ego, and the ego is this separated self that thinks it's alone and helpless. And these thoughts are, to use the psychological expression, this is largely unconscious. There are other theories that describe how, if we were to look at what we really think, we'd be depressed. So we layer, these thoughts of fear, attack, danger, guilt, comparison, separation. They're kind of layered over, so we don't look at that. And instead, what this ego world does is it points fingers. I'm unhappy because what they're doing. I'm sad because of what happened. Um, I'm thinking right now we have, the blame and shame. Like, this happened because this is what you did, look at what you did to me. Look at what they're doing to me. And maybe perhaps people like this, that, there's always something bad happening, and always somebody's doing something to someone else. Um, the the other thought system is the thought system of what's called in the course the Holy Spirit, or the voice for love, or the voice for God. It sees attack, again, why was I really upset? You have to look within and you have to bring it to the surface, but it sees that as a call for love. So how many people do you know um, are calling for love? So Myrna mentioned Jesus. Um, Jesus in A Course in Miracles is an elder brother, is like a spiritual guide, someone who tread the path of what the world teaches, and which is attack and defense. And we are like him. We are like Jesus. Maybe he's ahead of us on the path. He already knows who we are. And he knows who he is. And in the course it talks about Jesus on the cross, saying, forgive them, Father, they know not what they're doing. So he is the poster boy for forgiveness. The poster boy for forgiveness. He never defended himself, and people hated him for that. This is based on some history of Christianity that I learned from Ken Wapnick, one of the scholars of the course. And had he gotten upset, had he gotten angry, had he called them you idiots, what are you doing to me? Had he been a victim, he would have been that would have reinforced what this ego thought system is. So, but he didn't. The line in the course is teach only love, for that is what you are. He didn't get upset, as we're taught in the course, and he maintained this level of love. So what I'm doing now is contrasting the two thought systems. One of the thought systems comes from this idea of a separated self. That's the ego thought system. It's the thought system of sin, guilt, and fear. You did something wrong, you're guilty, and you better be afraid. You're going to be afraid of punishment. And again, these are deep thoughts. When I think back, there are some things, I've done that I'm not proud of, and to bring them up and look at them and say, okay, I'm still innocent despite that, and that wasn't who I am, and now and we through this other way of looking at the world, we uncover um we uncovered the love that we really are. Let's see, how much time? 2:52. So I'm going to go back to what I said, this practice of rational emotive therapy. Something happens, you react. Why did you react? You believed something. You run out, you're running for a bus and you miss the bus and you get all upset and they're going to kill me at work and blah, 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 blah. Why, what did you believe was going to happen? And at some level, there was fear. What are you afraid of? And this stuff takes time. Like I'm saying, I did this 45 years. But in the ego world, what we develop and what we are here to change. Let's see. We develop this ego thought system over time based on attachment theory, how our parents dealt with us. Um, there's three types of, how we are in relationships. Three types of attachment: secure attachment, avoidant, or anxious. But those kinds of early interpersonal actions we had with our caregivers stay with us. They help shape our perceptions of the world. Trauma responses, our nervous system changes. Selective attention. We only focus on those things that match our ideas and beliefs. Another way of saying ideas and beliefs is to use the term schema or script theory. Another word I like is cognitive structures. These are the ideas and beliefs that get built up over time. And they create the connections in the brain. So our brains get, wired according to the experiences we have. So we're not really seeing the world when we, using the ego thought system, we're not really seeing the world. We're seeing our conditioning, our past beliefs, and that's the ego world. So to come back to A Course in Miracles, when it says that, the world, I have invented the world I see, that's what to me, at this level, and it could be there are many other levels, and people will argue these concepts, what does it mean? What does it really mean? Um, at this level, what it means to me is that the way I see the world has been, I'll use it, conditioned over time. And it's not real. My ideas of the world can be changed. My ideas of the world are made up. I hope this makes sense. That the ego's belief system sees attack, danger, guilt, comparison, separation. That's all part of this thought system that was constructed. To see through the eyes of love is what the process of the course is. So I think I've got 4 minutes. So we see the Holy Spirit, that's the connection link to God. We see its interpretation, and its interpretation is gentle and loving and transformative. To let go, chunks of fear, and to let go of those perceptions that keep us in fear and keep us constrained. It occur the application of love. So let's try something, because I only have a couple of minutes left. Yeah, the world is false perception. It is born of error, and it has not left its source. That's something else. Yeah, that we're always connected to love. That's what it means. And if we're fearful, I don't, one of the lines in the course is fear is never justified in any form. Well, that's because you're always connected to God, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be afraid, or it doesn't say you're not going to get afraid. It's just you have the memory that it's not justified because you're always connected. So this is what I was saying before. I've got neighbors outside making noise. For practical application, a 5-step miracle process. Close your eyes, take some nice deep breaths. If you're upset, whatever you're upset about, a person, situation, memory, let that come to mind. And then you repeat in your mind, I'm not upset for the reason I think, or I'm never upset for the reason I think. And this is very similar to what I was doing before with the rational emotive therapy. I'm never upset for the reasons I think, because the upset is coming from the past. That's why the course is called the mind training. All of those things, like the ideas, the beliefs, we're being trained to see another way. So you look at what is the belief underneath this: rejection, scarcity, guilt. And then you say, okay, I need a reinterpretation of this event. I need to see this differently. And we ask to have it seen differently. You could use spirit, you could use Jesus, you could say God, whatever it is. I want to see this differently. That's the prayer. You could say help. And sometimes it does not happen immediately, but the extent to which you're open, things will change. Situations will crop up that will say, "Oh, look at that. I didn't have to worry about that." Or look at that. They didn't mean that. And the quote, or we can also say that the process of going from fear to love, from ego's thought system to spirit's thought system, is forgiveness. And we'll talk about that more next time. I think I'm out. That's it. So I got 1 minute. So I invite you to ask questions, please leave comments, subscribe to ACIM Gather. And perhaps I will do more teaching, longer classes, because the Course in Miracles is just so rich, and it just changes the way we are in the world. More peace, um, more peace. What can you want? More happiness, more certainty that it's all okay. Marianne Williamson used to say, if you sum up the course in one word, it's relax. So I wish everyone a relaxing um, time. And please, I have another podcast. It's because I teach human sexuality. And it's called Let's Talk Sex Official. Let's Talk Sex Official, Birds, Bees, and Beyond. So you could find that on YouTube. Um, I'm doing that with a former student. And we're just answering all kinds of questions about human sexuality. So with that, I'm done. And thank you guys. And I'll see you next time. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sorah. And we'll have to check out your other podcast. It's
Yes.
probably fascinating. I'm sure that
It's
it
a
is.
different, yeah, and it's a different focus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Well,
one that's really necessary. This, to coin a phrase, this world is screwed up about sex.
yeah.
It really
Well,
is.
anytime you involve yourself with the body, you're going to be screwed up. So that's just it.
That's a good way to look at it. You're right.
Yeah,
So thank you. Thank you,
absolutely.
Sane. And I'll see you next time.
All right. Love you, and we'll see you next
All
time.
right,
Bye
love you.
all.
And I'll get back to you about that hour.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure where my schedule's going yet, but I'll pray. I'll
Yeah.
ask for guidance.
We know. All right. So
Okay.